If you ask anybody right now about immortality, long life as a result of freezing the body and thawing the body out at some time in the future, almost everybody now would still probably wind up doing Ted Williams lines. And that was even before the recent incident. But if you ask Robert Begam, he says, listen, don't ask me, get my book. Long Life. How long has this been out, Robert?
About 6 months.
A courtroom thriller, and I wanted everybody to know that this was not a matter of a scientific analysis of cryonics or cryogenics. It is a possible murder mystery because there's a possible murder, but you spent most of your life in a courtroom and not in a lab. Why does this interest you?
Well, what interested me was what would happen if, let me back up and say that the real problem in cryonics is not getting the body quickly enough before it begins to decay. Because obviously if the body is decayed, then it's going to be difficult, if not impossible, to bring it back or reanimate it, if that's possible at all. So it would be ideal from the cryonics standpoint to be able to terminate the body, terminate the life before the body is dead. So if someone was terminal, in the last stages of a terminal disease with no hope of recovery, that would be a good time to terminate it.
But in a courtroom?
Murder. It's murder. The doctor would be accused of murder, and that's what happens in this case.
What a great plot for a book.
Yeah, what makes it really interesting is the only issue in a first-degree murder case in which the prosecution has asked for the death sentence is not was it intentional, not was it premeditated, not was it willful, is the victim dead? Or is the victim cryonically suspended awaiting reanimation?
And that's the question that needs to be answered.
That's the issue in the book.
All right, my question is, what's the difference between cryonics and cryogenics? We were discussing that in the office yesterday.
Well, cryogenics is not particularly an issue in science. It exists. Cryogenics is freezing of human organs for preservation purposes, as we do all the time. And so it's and also is used in surgery. They freeze certain parts of the body in certain types of surgery. That's cryogenics. Nothing really to do other than the cryo part, which means cold, with cryonics. Cryonics is the science of freezing bodies for the purpose of preserving them until they can be reanimated.
How long has it been done? And I ask you that considering the reality that reanimation has never been successful. Has it ever taken place? Has anybody ever tried it?
No, not that I know of. Although you may have seen in the newspaper a 20,000-year-old baby mammoth was just reanimated.
Yes.
Not reanimated, but found pretty preserved.
No, right. And
well preserved.
in fact, they're talking about the fact that it's so well preserved that there could be some DNA that they could be using now,
exactly,
and not sometime in the distant future, to recreate mammoths.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that cryonics will be viable sometime?
You know, I have really no opinion on the subject. I just thought
Boy, that's an attorney talking.
The legal question was fascinating. No, I don't. I remember reading when I was researching the book something that Albert Einstein said. He said that human progress is more likely to be arrested by bad politics than by bad science. And until the politics surrounding cryonics begins to clear the field for the scientists, I doubt that there's going to be any progress, any real significant progress.
But we have people frozen right here in a firm that decided to go into this business with virtually no promise that anybody was going to be able to thaw anybody out successfully at any time in the future.
There are only a few in the world, and Alcor is what you're referring to. They're right out in Scottsdale. No one knows about them.
Did you work with them at all on this book?
I visited Alcor twice. I didn't work with them.
Spooky? Was it kind of weird?
Well, you know, you've got these doors there, that big cylinders with bodies frozen in them, so that's a little spooky. but they were not spooky people. They were perfectly normal people, very hospitable. They now conduct, they didn't when I went out there, they now conduct tours, I understand.
Yes.
So I think you should go on a tour.
You know what, it looks too much like a brewery. It's one of those places where there's no refreshments at the end.
Well, I would think that's what would attract you.
Well, not just the appearance. If I'm going to go through a brewery, I want to be able to involve myself in the product. Robert Begam, trial attorney for a long, long time here in the Valley. One of those graduates of Yale, a proud member of the Elis, deciding now to go into enough research that he comes up with a fascinating book on the world of cryonics, but as seen through the eyes of a trial attorney, asking that question that we brought up just a few minutes ago, and that is when somebody really is dead. We'll be going through the plot in greater detail when we come back on the Pat McMahon Show on AZTV.